Hey, everybody. Michelle is here. January the 31st, 2026, on a Saturday. And this is going to be part 14 of what I'm calling these videos the consequences. Because basically, that's what it all boils down to, the consequences. I've had my breakfast, lunch, and I think maybe dinner. Sometimes I don't want to eat too late in the day. But hey, it all depends because it does interfere with my sleep if I don't consider that and keep that in mind. But I wanted to come back on through and talk about some consequences as it relates to our current situations, which are dire and catastrophic, and that's literally, figuratively, and metaphorically. A lot of it has to do with just pure, downright, unknowing. Pure, downright underdevelopment and pure, unlike arrogance, cockiness, and an unwillingness to re-examine your life and ask yourself, okay, what am I doing? Why am I doing it? And who am I blaming? Why am I blaming? And just do this type of reassessment or re-examining of your life, whereas nobody has to know you're doing it. No one has to know. You don't have to get on social media and tell everybody that you're doing a deconstruction, reconstruction process, re-examining your life. But a lot of you like to, because some of you are being helpful, and I can tell some of you are just really genuinely wanting to be helpful. A lot of you are just wanting to pad the likes, the followers, and this is your source of income. Admit it, okay? And stop all of this carrying on and lying. It's a way to supplement your income. Some of you are not working, some of you are laid off, and so now you need to find a way to supplement your income and be able to provide for yourself. So I want to talk about some complexities that's happening. I mean, some extreme complexities and just battles, pure battles, between the biological woman, more so the biological black female, and the transgender identifying females, which are biological males. I want to talk about that dynamic because it's extremely volatile and is extremely toxic. And a lot of it has to do with jealousy and envy, not to mention this, I'm going to say it again, this ideal that a biological man, regardless of how he identifies, believes he has access and control of the biological woman, regardless of, again, as to how they identify. They believe that they are the sounding voice as to how biological women are supposed to act. Okay, and that has nothing to do with just that a lot of say it's misogynistic on a more on a more toxic level. It's just misogynistic behavior and total disrespect. And then they wonder why the biological black woman has this type of disposition, whereas they could consider it masculine because they are protecting their grounding of a biological woman, a biological black woman, because we get it from all walks of life. If it's not, and more specifically and especially from biological men, regardless of how they identify. Okay, they are danger to the biological woman, especially the biological black female, because of the strength of a biological man, regardless of how he identifies. So there's this as I said, there's this sense of it's a fictional depiction of a biological woman, more specifically a biological black female, and now it's crossed over to biological white males who identify as trans females. They're doing that same type of toxic blaming and targeting of biological black females as the biological black males are doing. These white trans men are doing the same thing. These trans men identifying as females. However, biological men believing that they are women, believing that they are biological women, and believing they know exactly what a woman is. Gosh, I know you guys remember this character, because they were a character that came across our television screens and computer screens, and you had these major news outlets interviewing this person. The initials is CJ, figure it out, claiming that they knew exactly what it meant to be a woman. How disrespectful that was. And this particular person's ex-wife, a biological female, realized that she was essentially used by this biological man who claims to know what it, and all intents and purposes knows what it means to be a biological woman. That was so illogical to me. It took me years to figure out what the hell that meant, because I was becoming healed from my own realities and my own environment that I had to take care of first before I would address any type of controversy or any type of important matters that needed to be discussed. Stand by. I'll get it later. I dropped my glasses, reading glasses somewhere. I'll get them later. I don't think it's nothing I need to be looking up on the computer. Otherwise, I'll get those other set of glasses. But yeah, it was just pure disrespect. And then you have these so-called journalists, eating it up, hook, line, and sinker. This person just announces, all because they can have some surgery done because they have the finances to do so and take hormonal treatment. All of a sudden, they were the experts on what it meant to be a biological woman. The disrespect has to stop. Otherwise, that's where the volatility is going to go to a catastrophe level, where people are genuinely going to lose their lives. That was the most illogical display of stupidity that I've ever had to experience. But I was unable, as I said, to address it because I had my own issues I had to take care of. I had to take care of Michelle and make sure Michelle was solid and healed and available to understand what this all meant. I wasn't, in other words, projecting my own unhealed parts onto a certain situation. And I suggest we all do that. That's why I say you need to re-examine your life and make sure that you're not projecting on other people your unhealed parts. Okay, I made sure I was healed before I start talking about certain things. To make sure I was grounded, I understood the consequences of what was being done and said. And I was doing everything in my power to give people the benefit of the doubt. You have the free will to call yourself whatever you want to call yourself. Okay, but to make this announcement that you're an expert on what it means to be a biological woman, and you're not a biological woman, and then have laws and regulations passed, that's where the issues of the disrespect took place, where we started penalizing people for pronouns, start penalizing for people for misidentification, all of this illogical, ridiculous passing of laws and regulations and rules and regulations and what ordinance and what not, instead of paying attention to what was actually happening. Is we are in an entropy of overpopulation of people. And and the animals are dying out, but we still have hoarding of toys and equipment. We have a severe entropy of massive overpopulation. What does that mean? Well, ask the scientists, or attempt to connect the dots yourself and figure it out. Okay, I gave you a metaphor. I'm doing everything in the most basic, whereas a child could understand it. Again, picture a conveyor belt. and see if you can, without getting offended and getting your feelings hurt, consider that conveyor belt as a birth canal. Can you do that without being offended, whether you have one or not? Okay, from history will, in a distant future, oh boy, the illogical, irrational, and unreasonable degeneracy of our consciousness, our thoughts, it's going to be on full display. It's not going anywhere. There's no way any religious organization, no political organization can hide this anymore. In the future, a lot of our history was destroyed. I was sharing something somewhere about, you remember the library of Alexandria? Does anybody remember how those books and that library was destroyed? Well, guess what? Guess what? Everything on this planet, even the speck of dust, is saved in a storage bank. We can destroy everything on the planet, which we usually do, but things can be regenerated if necessary. If our future personalities want to look back on our behaviors and actions, and they may do it on some levels, but they're not going to care. But you know why? Because they're going to see the results. They're going to be able to put two and two in together. They're going to know how the math adds up, what happened to this population of human beings. And the destruction is going to be worse than the dinosaurs, the disappearing of certain dinosaurs. Has anyone ever asked what happened to the dinosaurs? We keep assuming. So this toxic, volatile relationship between, I'm going to be real honest, it's between the biological black females and the transgender communities, whether they are more so of the female version, whether they're biological black men or biological white men, are the ones targeting the biological black female and pointing fingers at them about their looks, what they're wearing, and not understanding that that's just a part of what a biological female is. Yes, we put on, not me, but a lot of them wear wigs and makeups and fashion and clothing and earrings and jewelry and blah blah blah. They are essentially just performing a little, performing, being allowed to do whatever the hell they want, right? But still they know that they're biological women. Like my mom was, she was into that makeup phase in her life, where she liked to wear the wigs, she liked to wear the makeup, she likes to wear the jewelry, dress a certain way, and then she and my father would go out. They had a good time together. They went everywhere together. They went to concerts together. They went, they would go shopping together. It's like they were always together, my mom and my dad. Before both of them became ill and unable to venture out as such. So my mom was known for being really attractive. She's when she would make herself up. Like I said, with like some of these female icons, they were great at performing and entertaining us with how they would wear their fashion, their hair, the makeup. They were performing for us, entertaining us. But when my mom got home, that damn wig was off, the makeup was cleaned off her face, and then she got into her role as a nurturing mother and wife. Okay, and took care of the household. So there was no confusion on her behalf as to why she would be wearing wigs, why she would be wearing makeup. It was just something that was done, and a lot of biological women just enjoy it. But they know that's only a speck of who they are as biological women. They're not their wigs. They're not their makeup. Okay, but these biological men identifying as transgender females are looking in on that. They used to look in on their mother, when she would dress up, how she would put on this and that and the other, and they believed that that was the definition of a woman. That is not the definition of a woman, because she can wear wigs and makeup any more than it is a definition of a transgender female believing that if they put on some wigs and makeup and dress like, what they believe a woman dresses, how a woman is supposed to dress, then that makes them a woman. No, it doesn't. Okay? No, it doesn't. And to be getting upset with biological women, more specifically black females, that's the part that I'm stepping in and doing everything in my power to protect biological women, more specifically black females. Okay, we've had a lot of them have told me, which I like, I love it. And it's true. A lot of them have said and are saying, I can take care of myself. And that is so damn true. I know it. I know you can. I have no doubt about that at all. But I still am supportive of the biological black female, regardless of how she identifies. Now, the issue with the biological black females that are identifying as men, they're just, like I said, they're just as confused. And some of them are cowardly because all they do is project whatever their issues are onto the black female, the biological black female. They will not dare go up against biological men because they know what will happen. They are no match. These biological women calling themselves men are no match for the biological men at all. No match. Okay, in more ways than one. Okay, don't be delusional. And this carrying on about, what bathrooms you're supposed to be using, that kind of, it's an invasion, an intentional invasion. I remember this one character. He was a biological man. And there were some issues going on in his community or around his community where women were being sexually assaulted. And then eventually a lot of them were being unalived. And so you could call him a serial killer. Yes, sure. And this is documented. You can research it. But what his excuse is that as a biological man, he could not control his emotions enough to not want to injure the biological female. So he believed if he transitioned over to a transgender female, that would allow him to be administered hormonal treatments to kind of dial down that massive masculine aggression and danger that it posed to biological women. And so supposedly that is a type of treatment that's out there that it will help to regulate this rage of toxic men projecting their hatred of their masculinity, in my opinion, onto the biological woman. And what's annoying me as well with the biological white males identifying as transgender females, you notice how their voices have changed. You notice how their looks have changed. They're getting all this treatment, to puff out their lips, to add these it's embarrassing actually. If that's your ideal of a biological woman, then it's disrespectful. It's disrespectful. And let me find a word. Oh, I don't have my glasses, so I won't be able to read it. It's like a is an exaggeration of what they believe biological females look like, sound like, walk like, dress like. Okay, it's like they're looking in. A lot of them are creepy like that. I'm being honest. They have that degenerate type of activities and behaviors, whereas they may have been spying on women secretly or stalking women secretly. Dating women just to wear their underwear or their clothing when the woman wasn't there. A lot of it is degenerate behavior, and that needs to be addressed. So what I'm understanding is the only way that can be addressed is to treat these if these biological men call themselves transgender females, in order to curtail that rage that will eventually flare up if they don't get their way, treat them with hormonal treatments. Okay, so they can dial down that rage and that extreme masculinity that they hate so much. Because what's going to happen is they're going to keep projecting all that on the biological black female, because that's their target. They want to look like Diana Ross. They want to look like Donna Summer. They want to look like these icons that were just performers for us. We, as in the black community, knew these people were performers and entertainers, and we knew once they got home, their damn wigs came off, that makeup came off, and they took care of their children. If they were married at the time, they took up the role that's not always performing and dancing, clammed up all day, sitting around in makeup and hair and heels all day, knowing your house needs to be cleaned, knowing your dishes need to be washed, your bills need to be paid. Stop it. Okay? And again, stop blaming the biological black female for your issues, and be respectful to the biological black woman, because that's who you are wanting to be. And you think if you can just move them out of the way, then you will have free range to the men that they love. That may work for a little bit. Who knows? But I'm telling you, the separation is not because biological black females are going to other biological females. No, they're separating for safety and the safety of their children, and they just want to be free. Okay, they don't need to be married. They don't need to have kids. They know that. They want their room to breathe and reevaluate what's important to them. And I can guarantee you it's not the transgender females. But at the same time, they're being attacked by these people. And I'm telling you, these transgender females are blaming biological black females, usually in the form of their mothers. I'm gonna talk more about this, and I'm starting this, as best I can, in small chunks of information as I can. So I'm gonna stop it right now. But trust me, I will be back.